and we have with us Dr. Tariq Hussain Bhat sir. Sir will be delivering fish product development, and it includes a detailed presentation on drying and salting. I welcome you, sir. Please proceed.
Second largest producer in agriculture, but it is contributing 8% of the global fish production. When we say total production, in global production, India is producing about 8%. In terms of quantity, we have 162 lakh tons in 21-22. Compared to 1920, it is showing a tremendous growth. This data is from Ministry of Fisheries. So this is the official data from India where we stand in terms of the production. So what we do with this production? Some of it is consumed locally in the country, maybe throughout the country we are distributing it. Then we have little surplus. What we are doing with that? We are exporting it in terms of maybe fresh, frozen, canned, dried, smoked. There are n number of products which we are exporting to other countries. This is the data from last 10 years, I think, where you can see a rising trend of exports from India. Last year, the contribution from fisheries sector to the Indian rupee in terms of exchange is 579 billion. This is how much potential we have in the country in terms of export. If we are exporting to the different countries, what we are getting back? We are increasing our resource export reserves. Then we are importing from these countries some other products, but we are exporting the fish. This is one of the major products which we are exporting from our country. Next, please. This is the dry fish export. Previous slide was showing the total export, what we were exporting or what we are doing with our surplus. Now, in terms of dry fish, what we are doing? This is the how much we are earning from export only. When we are exporting dried fish, last year we had 3,080 crores. We can say 3,000 crores from only dried fish. This is how much it is contributing to our economy. That is why this is an important topic regarding processing and product development. Some of you may think of doing such type of business. You can jump into the field. You can see how much potential there is. We have resources. We have fish. We can convert it into different products and export if you want. Next, please. This is what we do with the fish which we are locally consuming. You can see 67% we are using as fresh. Then processed 16%, including dried also. Only 16% we are processing. That means bulk with us is only fresh. And you know fish is highly perishable. So what we have to do? We have to increase our processing potential. We have to go for more processing so that we can keep it for longer periods. Then 66% we are converting into fish meal. Then only 1% is canned. Whatever fish in India is consumed, 1% of that is canned. Bulk is consumed as fresh, 67%. Next. So what is drying? You might have heard about drying. What is drying? When we remove moisture, the product is dried. You might have seen this process throughout your life. Once you are washing your clothes, you are keeping them in sun. Why? You want to evaporate the water so that your product there is your clothes. When we talk about fish, what we are doing? We are removing moisture. What happens with that? Why should we remove moisture? Huh? If we do not remove water, what will happen? To increase the shelf life of the product, we are removing water because we know water is the universal medium. every organism, whether plant or animal, needs water for survival. If there is no water, then there is no life. So we know bacteria or microbes, whichever are responsible for the spoilage, they need water. What we are doing? We are removing water so that we can keep our product for longer duration. Earlier, when there was no scientific interventions like you have now frozen, you have canned, you have irradiated products. This is the prehistoric evidence is there. Then we are drying products, not only fish, other products also like vegetables, which we are still consuming in our water, in this part of the country. So there is the history of drying the food products for keeping for the time when there is no production. We can have a better idea of this because we know now winter has started, our production has almost stopped. So we have life without water is not possible. What we are doing, we are removing the water or we are reducing the water so that microorganisms cannot grow and our product cannot survive. So for removing of the water, we need what we need? We need energy. Where is this energy coming from? You can directly harvest sun energy or you can use mechanical energy. You can keep product in the open sun, it will get dried with sunlight. Or you can generate mechanically, you can use electrical energy, convert into heat energy, then supply to the product and it will be dried and ultimately you will get a dried product. So what is the process? There are traditional methods, there are some advanced methods which we may learn later. Next. There are some advantages of the dried product. Same is the case with the dried fish. What are these advantages? Dried and dehydrated foods are more concentrated. That means if we have a same quantity of fresh and dried is having more nutrients than the fresh because we are removing the bulk. Bulk is water. Like our body, 60 to 80% is water. Same is the case with fish, 60 to 80%. Even if we are removing 50%, that means we are reducing the bulk, we are concentrating the nutrients. Whatever nutrients are there, they are concentrated. Then less costly to produce. There is no sophisticated equipment for drying the product. You can use simply sunlight or you can use mechanical dryers. So it is less costly to produce compared to the other methods of production like canning, irradiation or freezing. Processing equipment is limited. You do not need highly sophisticated equipments. Then storage area required is less. That means you can keep a bulk in concentrated form. Then you have distribution costs are also less. If you are distributing, you are sending frozen products, you need refrigerated vans, etc. But here you can keep it at room temperature or ambient temperature, you can easily supply. There is no need of such controlled conditions then when you are drying the product. Then preserving the fish for long time. This is a long-term preservation technique. At least you can keep for 6 months without controlling any other condition then. You can keep, this is shallow stable product. That means you need not to keep at lower temperature or you need not to change the environment then. Next. So what is the principle of drying? As already said, water is essential for life. If there is no water, then there is no life. What we are doing here, same principle we are applying for the fish. We are removing the water in order to reduce the water activity. Actually, it is not the water content that is important. It is water activity. What is water activity?
When microorganisms are able to grow.
In our body, some of the water is bound, some is free. What is free water? The water that is available for chemical reactions or that is available for microbial action, that is called the free water. Then you have bound water that forms part of your organelles or your cell membranes that you cannot utilize. So what we are doing, we are reducing the free water. Free water means the water that is available for any bacterial or enzymatic or chemical reaction. When we are reducing the water content, what we are doing? We are not allowing the microorganisms to grow or to act on our product. Or we are not allowing the enzymatic reaction to take place because there is no water. Without water, there will not be any enzymatic reaction. This is how we are employing this principle for the preservation of the food. You can keep other methods also like freezing, chilling, canning, but every method has its own principle. If you are adding salt also, that way you are binding some water. But in case of drying, you are removing directly water from the pot. You are not keeping water there. Water is extracted and the product is stable. Next, drying process. How does drying take place? There are two phases. One is constant, then second one is falling. What is the constant rate of drying? If you keep pure water in a jar or a jug, it will evaporate at a constant rate because it is readily available. Same is the case with the fish. Water present on the surface will remove first. It will evaporate. Once heat starts falling on the product, the water will evaporate. It will evaporate at a constant rate. It will be affected by the external factors like humidity and temperature. But once this water is finished, there is no water on the surface. The water from the musk, which is inner part of the fish, has to reach to the surface. In the second phase, that is falling rate of drying. What happens there? First, water has to move to the surface either by way of diffusion, by osmosis, or capillary action. Once it reaches the surface, then only it will be removed from the surface. In first case, there water was there on the surface itself. Once you start raising the temperature, water evaporated at a constant rate, and it is mostly affected by the external factors, as already said, like relative humidity and temperature. But for the second phase, it depends on the osmosis, diffusion, or capillary action, whatever is applicable. You have to maintain these reactions, then only water on the surface will be evaporated. Next, this is the drying process. How the product dries. See what will happen. Once you are applying the heat, surface moisture evaporates. First of all, the moisture on the surface will be evaporated. Then it will move to the deeper. Heat has to penetrate deep, and then water has to come onto the surface by way of diffusion. Heat is penetrating inside to the center, and water is coming through diffusion towards the surface. Then only it is evaporated. This is how the water from the fish or any other product is removed. These are the factors affecting the drying rate. What are the factors? First one is thickness, I think. What will happen? If the surface is thick, drying rate will be slow. Why? As already said, water has to move from center to the surface. It will take time if thickness is more. Once thickness is less, the drying rate will be higher. Then you have surface area. More the surface area, higher the drying rate. है ना? जितना surface area ज़्यादा होगा, surface area, what is surface area? You can see from the picture, it's self-explanatory. जितना surface area ज़्यादा होगा, उतनी जल्दी जो water है वो evaporate हो जाएगा. Area to volume, then temperature. Higher the temperature, faster the dehydration. Then relative humidity. ज़्यादा होगी तो drying rate will be less, because environment will be having less capacity to add more moisture. Once it is more saturated, it will take less quantity. Then air speed. What is air speed? Once you are increasing the speed, that means water is moving faster. It has the capacity to take more with it. If it is standing, it is stagnant, it will not take much water. Then fat content. जितना फैट ज्यादा होगा उतना ही स्लो होगा, because fat will entrap the water. It will not allow it to reach the surface and evaporate. It will become a barrier. Then water content. जितना water content ज्यादा होगा उतना जल्दी वो निकल जाएगा, जितना कम होगा उतना स्लो वो निकल जाएगा. क्यों? अदर सॉल्यूट्स जो है, जो कंसंट्रेट्स है, सॉलिड्स ये है, अमीनो एसिड्स है या सॉल्ट्स है, that will bind to the water. That will not allow it to evaporate. Next, then traditional method of fish drying. What is traditional method? Traditional method is simply you are drying in the sun. This is how we are drying in Kashmir. We are keeping the fish on the rope open in the sun. That is how we are drying. You are cutting open the fish. If you have small one, you are not dressing. Without dressing, you are simply keeping in the rope and keep in open sun and drying the product. What we call dried fish in Kashmiri. It is written there, Hagad. Okay. This is how we are drying the traditional way. Next, this is how other part of the country on the right side and Kashmir on left side. We are keeping in the row and they are keeping. How we are marketing them. This is our marketing in Kashmir. How you might have seen such type of people in the market, how they are selling. This is how hygienic we are keeping our product. You can see. This is self-explanatory. After drying, how on the same shop. Next. Now we have mechanical drying. What is mechanical drying? Traditionally, we are using simply sunlight. In mechanical drying, we are using cabinet dryers, we are using solar dryers, different types of dryers are there, where we are using either electricity or we are using sunlight for generating the heat to dry our product, where we can maintain relative humidity, temperature, other conditions. But in case of natural drying or traditional drying, there is no control on the weather. We don't have such mechanism where we can control the weather. We can tell the God we are drying the fish, please don't rain, and we cannot stop the rodents or insects or pests because our product is open for all. But here we have a control. This is how the mechanical drying is carried out, and if you want to venture into the business, you should have such type of mechanism. Then only you can do a good business. Next, please. Now, types of dryers. First one is cabinet dryer. What is cabinet dryer? Then you can regulate the temperature. You can maintain the humidity by running the fans. So you can keep the product in this dryer and dry it. Then you have kiln dryer. What is kiln dryer? Kiln dryer is basically you are burning the wood. It is a two-story building. In the ground floor you are burning the wood, then you are generating the heat and supplying to the upper surface. It is simply a cabinet dryer where you are applying vacuum. What is the role of vacuum? Once you are reducing the pressure, the boiling point is decreasing. That means rate of evaporation will increase. Once rate of evaporation is increased, your product will be dried faster. Then you have solar dryer and then solar and dryer. Solar dryer is simply a cabinet dryer where you are utilizing solar energy for generating the heat. Then you have solar and dryer. Here, this is the cheapest one you can say in case of dryers. You are simply making a tent of transparent polythene. Then you are employing here a greenhouse effect. What is greenhouse effect? You are allowing the sunlight to penetrate, then you are not allowing it to go back. Then what will happen? It will raise temperature inside the tent. Next, please. This is our dried fish. What we are doing here in our mechanical dryer. You can see the difference between the traditional one that you have seen in the previous slide, and now this one is the mechanically dried fish. Next. Now, nutritional importance of the dried fish. What is the nutritional importance? It is same as that of the fresh fish. What gives us fresh fish? You might be knowing it. What do we get from the fresh fish? Proteins, mainly proteins. Then you have what is omega? Omega-3 fatty acids, essential fatty acids. Then you get some minerals also. But here you are getting in the concentrated form. In case of fresh fish, there is bulk is water. You are removing the water. You are getting in concentrated form. So you are getting all those nutrients here. But you may lose some, like vitamins which are liable products. They will be lost. Next, please. Effect of drying on the quality of fish. So far we were learning about the drying process and its advantages. Now, what is the effect of drying on the quality?
प्रोटीन लॉस किसमें होता है? ड्राइड फिश में या फ्राइड फिश में?
Dried fish में कोई protein loss नहीं होता. What happens in dried fish? There is only denaturation of proteins, but proteins are concentrated. If you talk of fresh fish, you have only 16 to 20%. In case of dried, you have more than 70% protein because you are reducing the moisture content. First one is shrinkage. What will happen to the dried fish? Once moisture is removed, it will shrink. That means you can reduce the quantity. You can store more quantity in less space. That is shrinkage. Once moisture is removed, protein will denature and it will shrink.
आप बोल रहे हो ड्राइड फिश ज़्यादा हेल्दी है.
अगर हम क्वांटिटी वाइज बात करेंगे तब हम बता सकते हैं कि ड्राइड फिश जो है ये ज़्यादा प्रोटीन देती है. अगर आप फ्रेश फिश 100 ग्राम लोगे, यहाँ से ड्राइड फिश 100 ग्राम लोगे, जो आपका ड्राइड फिश है वो आपको ज़्यादा प्रोटीन देगा. उसमें 76 या 70% हम मानेंगे तो 70 ग्राम आपको प्रोटीन मिलेगा. अगर आप फ्रेश फिश की बात करेंगे 100 ग्राम, उसमें ऑनली आपको 16 ग्राम प्रोटीन. बट वेट हम ये कंपेयर कर रहे हैं. लेकिन जब आप ड्राइड फिश बनाओगे तब आपने जो आपके पास 100 ग्राम मिला होगा वो आपको कम से कम आधा किलो से ज़्यादा उसमें गया होगा, तब आपके पास वो 100 ग्राम तैयार होगा. Then second one is KSRD. As already said, what is KSRD? जो surface layer है that will become impermeable due to overheating or denaturation of proteins. Then the inner part will become soft and spoil. वो बैक्टीरिया से जल्दी spoil हो जाएगा. This is called KSRD. ये तब होगा जब आप relative humidity control नहीं कर पाएंगे, temperature control नहीं कर पाएंगे, और falling rate के दौरान temperature बढ़ाओगे तो क्या होगा? What will happen once the temperature is raised? Relative humidity is not controlled. उस वक्त आपको relative humidity 70% से ज़्यादा नहीं होगी. For reducing it below 70%, this will happen to the product. Once the relative humidity is reduced, surface water will evaporate immediately. Then the surface will become impermeable. It will not allow the water from the center part to reach to the surface and evaporate. and the product will be spoiled sooner. Then denaturation of proteins and toughening of this texture, and this will lead to the muscle fragmentation. You will see drying will lead to the muscle fragmentation. That means the fish will be broken into the pieces. This will happen to the fish once you are over drying. Next, then color and flavor. Some people may like this flavor of the dried fish, but for some it is very difficult to bear because everyone is different, unique, and tastes are different. Then the change in the color, it is mainly because of the Maillard reaction. What is that reaction? Where amino groups and sugars will react and convert or change color of the products. Usually dried products are brown in color because of this reaction. Then you have rancidity. Rancidity means oxidation of the fat, either hydrolytic or oxidative. Either oxygen or water will cause this type of rancidity. Next, spoilage. Mainly molds will grow if the relative humidity is 75% and temperature is 30 to 35 degrees centigrade. If you are keeping your product, dried product, after drying you are keeping the product in an environment where relative humidity is 75% and your temperature is 30 to 35 degrees centigrade, molds will grow. Then you have chances of developing aerobic spoilage. If not salted, अगर आपने salt add नहीं किया, aerobic bacteria will also grow. Then halophiles, अगर आपके पास salt, आपने salt भी add किया, then chances are there of halophiles, salt-loving bacteria, they will grow. Then you will see major problems. Salted product के साथ pink colonies will be developed because of the halophiles. Next, please. Pests. Your products are prone to pests. Q. You have seen how you are storing, how you are marketing. So there are ample chances of getting unnecessary or unwanted products also. Or you can say top-ups like insect pots, eggs. These are major problems associated with the dried fish. If you are using traditional methods, then you have flies, they can lay eggs there. Then salting can deter the flies. To overcome these problems, sometimes what they do, they are using insecticides. That is the biggest problem. If you are using insecticides, this will cause some serious health issues. Then naturally rodents and birds are also there, they may come to help you make your product spoil faster. They will help you. Then rancidity. More the fat, more the rancidity. Next, drying was simply what we learned is only about drying. What you can add, salting. Salting is actually an addition to that. What you are doing. Salting is also a traditional method. You can use only salting also. It is possible you can use salting only. Then salting plus drying is also a possibility or it is being done. What will salt do? In case of drying, we were reducing the water. But here what we are doing? We are reducing the water activity. As already said, it is actually water activity, not the water content. That is responsible for the spoilage. What will happen when you are adding water? It will bind to the water, salt will bind to the water and reduce, and it will not allow it to be used by the bacteria or in the chemical reactions. Salt will penetrate into the muscle and bind there. It will not allow the water to leave. Water will be there, but it will be bound. It will not be available. Like in case of freezing, what you are doing there? How much impurity is allowed? You should have salt that has a purity of 80 to 99%. Because with salt you can add, you have some impurities that make part of our salt, and they lead to the spoilage. Like you have magnesium there, you have other chemicals, mostly the solar salt. It is contaminated with halophiles also. So instead of keeping the quality with the salt, you are losing the quality. You are allowing the product to spoil faster. Less contaminants, less water active, then less bitterness. If you have less halophilic bacteria, halophilic means salt tolerant. Some salts are already contaminated. Why? You have a bacterial load of 10 raised power high already in the salt. So what you should do? We have to concentrate on the salt what we are using. If you have good quality raw material, but your salt is not of that standard, you are allowing the product to spoil fast. Instead of keeping the quality, you are losing it. So this problem is mainly with the solar salt. If you are brining, you need different quality. If you are using dry salting, you need different quantity or quality. Next, this is how the microorganisms behave in the presence of the salt. Once you are increasing the salt concentration, you can see from bacteria to osmotic yeasts how they are behaving. If you are reducing the water activity to 0.91, then bacteria will stop. If you are still reducing the water activity to 0.85, then yeasts will stop. You are adding more water, and water activity is reducing to 8, molds are stopped. They are not able to grow. Once you are reducing to 0.75, halophilic bacteria will also not be able to grow. Then if you are going to 0.65, xenophilic molds they need less water, but still they will not be able to grow. Once you are reducing water activity to 0.6, osmotic yeasts, very high osmotic pressure पे जो जिंदा रहते हैं, they will not also survive. This is how the salting helps us in preserving the fish. If you are not reducing the moisture content, but you are reducing the water quality, this activity by way of adding salt, you will be able to keep the product for longer duration. This is how you can add salt accordingly. If you have an apprehension of these microorganisms, you can stop them. Next, methods of salting. How you will add salt to that fish. Dry salting. In dry salting you have canned salting and pickle salting. Dry salting means simply you are rubbing salt onto the surface of the fish. Once dressed, you are applying salt. You are rubbing on the surface. Then you are keeping the fish as such. Canned salting, what you are doing, you are allowing the water that is coming from the fish to drain out. In canned salting, it is a process, it is method of dry salting where you are rubbing salt onto the surface and then allowing the fish to drain. You will allow the water to move. Salting is same as canned salting, but whatever exudate is there, whatever moisture is coming out, you are not allowing it to drain. You are keeping it there and making a pickle of the product. Here you are adding at least 30% salt. Canned salting and pickle salting. Difference is only one. In canned salting, you are allowing the exudate or the water to drain. But in case of pickle salting, you are keeping the water within the container. You are not allowing it to drain, and this helps in pickling process. The product is somewhat pickled. Next. Then you have brine salting. You are producing a brine solution of 15 to 25% concentration. Quality. Older the fish, faster the salt uptake. Why? Because the fish may already have gone somewhat spoiled. It may have lost some water holding capacity. Salt will easily penetrate. Cell membranes may already be damaged there. Then temperature. If you are raising the temperature, salt uptake will be more chance of spoilage in the center of fish. Once the temperature is increased, you will allow the bacteria to grow at faster rate. Microorganisms to act, and this will cause spoilage, usually in the central part, because on the surface there will be salt. It will be from the surface to the center. Opposite to that of drying, what we were seeing in the drying, water has to come from the center to the surface. But here, the salt has to go from surface towards the center, inner part of the fish. Next, storage. Keep cool, dry, and wet. Salt the product is longer the shelf life. वो क्या होता है? जितना ज्यादा salt डालोगे, उतनी ज्यादा देर आप प्रोडक्ट को रख सकते हो, है ना? कैसे? That will bind more water. That will make life of other organisms more like a hell, है ना? They will not be able to breathe. उनको मौका नहीं मिलेगा. Next, this is how they are salting the product. First, you will truss, cut, make flats, then apply the salt. This is how the salting is done. Next, some smoking. अब गए? इसको एक्सप्लेन करने की ज्यादा जरूरत नहीं है ना? क्यों? यहाँ हम स्मोकिंग को प्रिजर्वेशन के लिए यूज कर रहे हैं, लेकिन जिंदा जो है वो मरने के लिए यूज कर रहे हैं, है ना? शॉर्टकट है ना कोई? This is also one of the oldest method of preservation, or this is famous for its typical pleasant flavor. कुछ लोगों को पसंद होता है in developed countries used for flavor and color. हम यहाँ इसको for preservation यूज कर रहे हैं. Developed countries they like its flavor, taste, smell, whatever. Then what we are doing is the smoking. We are applying flavors and we are taking out water. How? Hot air, that is smoke, you are applying to the fish, you are taking out water, you are applying flavors, you are enhancing its flavor. Next, preservative action of smoking. कैसे smoking से preservation होती है? How? How is it possible? First one is surface drying. Once you are raising the temperature, the surface will become dry. As already said in case of drying. Then in smoking you are adding salt also, you are reducing water activity. Then deposition of phenolic antioxidants. You are adding antioxidants. They will help in retarding the oxidation. Then deposition of antimicrobial substances like phenols and formaldehyde. These are antimicrobial substances. अपने फेस पे नहीं लगाना, ठीक है? Antimicrobial substances. ये फिश पे ही लगाना. Next. Then how the smoking process is done? First you will take fresh fish, truss, drying or salting, then hanging, smoking, packaging and storage. This is in nutshell how you are doing. Now the steps. First one is you have to take, this is an Indian smoked product. This is prepared from tuna. What you are doing, heading and gutting, then washing, cooking, you are putting it in the brine or in the sea water then you are smoking the product, then sun drying. After smoking, you are sun drying, and your product is called a massing. It is prepared from the fresh tuna. This was the oldest method of preservation in India before the invention of all these modern gadgets what we are using now. So you have two types of smoking. What? Cold smoking, then hot smoking. What is cold smoking? As already said, in Western countries, they are doing this for flavor enhancement, not as a preservation. Fish is kept hung or spread in a mesh inside the kiln. So, it is kept at lower temperature. Smoke roasts in the floor while burning the fire. Then, you are increasing temperature inside the chamber, not beyond 40 degrees Celsius. Smoking, there are chances of benzofiling. That is a carcinogen. So be careful while eating smoked fish. Solid, cyclic, aromatic hydrocarbons, particularly benzofiling. So, what is the solution? Lower smoke generation temperature is better. You have to keep temperature low so that the benzofiling is not produced in much quantity. Or other way, you can use electric smokers where you have liquid smoke. That is the other option. Next. Tisha? Any question?
Any questions from? Thank you, Dr. Tariq Hussain sir, for such elaborative lecture on fish product development. We are really thankful to you for such wonderful presentation.